Hey and welcome to Mini Gokin Reviews. Today we'll be looking at the Moshow Scourge of God. Why, Gokin? Why are you doing this? How could you invoke the Scourge of God upon us? Well, I'm just here to make dreams happen, make life happen. I also got this for free from Moshow themselves, and as such I will review it. Don't get me wrong, just because I got it for free doesn't mean I'll be kind. In fact, this will probably be the most negative video you can watch on this figure, because it's pretty great, although I'm getting ahead of myself. First, box. Now look. This is 1000% a Gundam, if not a legally distinct one, and as such I'm not really the target audience for it. With that being said, this is definitely a cool design. Apparently, much like Takeda Shingen is Takeda Shingen, and Date Masamune is Date Masamune. This is based on a historical figure too, although you probably wouldn't know that unless I told you, or unless you happen to know that Scourge of God refers to either Attila the Hun or Genghis Khan. I want to say this is probably Attila the Hun, but I don't really know much about the Hun. I'm not a history guy, although Altera was my first and only SSR in FGO, so I do have a soft spot for Attila the Hun. Really? Of course not, you fucking idiot. I played that Wayang-ass game for an afternoon and uninstalled it. I didn't really carry any emotions for it, aside from my heterosexual love for a Lartoria, and my homosexual love for a Stolfo. What were we talking about again? I'm looking at this figure for inspiration, but all I can think of is Frisia. And Rage of Dust. It's almost as if this wasn't inspired by its namesake in any way or form, and is mostly just inspired by Gundam Barbatos Lupus Rex, and Gundam Unicorn, although more on that later. While we're talking about things that bother me, I wish this had more top-heavy proportions, instead of the same proportions of all their other robots. They're doing a lot with that limitation. I just wish they'd drop it and make something that looks even more powerful, which might not have been their intentions. For all I know, there's lore on these that makes them have to look somewhat similar, which I would think that sucks. But if it's their intention to keep it that way, then that's their right, I guess. They did give it extending parts that make the proportions more different, but I don't know. It's a pretty mild difference, and extending these parts reveal the parts inside, which sounds neat, but it's less seeing the cool internal detail and more like it's seeing someone's tacky underwear. It's not sexy. This has been very negative so far. I need to stop or else they won't send me more stuff. I mean, you know what? You heard me. Fuck you. It's not even like I think this is bad. In fact, this is very good. While it's not being an inspired sculpt, it's a good sculpt. There's a lot of detail, and all that detail is sharp. Paint is also great. Even decals are crisp and clearly readable. Even the really small shit. All of this comes together and makes a really great looking figure. A great looking figure that doesn't diminish in luster as time goes on. Like most figures. What the fuck am I talking about? I don't know. What I do know is that, unlike their other robots, the pilot is apparently not some dumb bitch. Ooh, misogyny. Instead, it's this cock-hungry, cum-slut, man-whore. Okay, it's just some guy. Whatever. I do think that this is the best of Moshow's original IP designs, although their Ashura is still better. That being said, I love robots that are animalistic, and this figure is a beast. Just look at the articulation. As to be expected from a Moshow figure, articulation is pretty great, and feels quite nice. It's very solid. Only real problem, and I don't really know if this can be considered a problem with the articulation, is that when maneuvering as I keep getting poked. I hope I don't contract AIDS. Maybe I just need more iron in my diet, which I could get from this figure in abundance, as this figure is quite heavy and has a lot of metal. I mean, just look at that metal frame. Alright, you get an extending shoulder joint, which is cool but looks kinda like shit fully extended. So here's a hot tip. Just don't. In fact, there's a lot of convertible or auto-transforming parts that are definitely cool, although I won't get too into them, as that would bog down the review, but I will show you some highlights in the feature segment. I don't think the opening mouth counts, which is a cool detail. Anyway, you get an absolute shit ton of accessories, or at least it looks that way, since all these squigglies are technically accessories. In reality, you get a pretty good amount of accessories. You get 7 pairs of hands, very handy, although for some reason they're all on C-clips. Oh heinous lord, why? They probably won't break. I just have some bad experiences, not with attaching the weapons to these, because that works fine, as you can see with this sword, which is a bit strange looking, but has a pretty cool auto-transforming feature, and can combine with the whip. Which is also the tail in the beast mode. It's honestly a better looking tail than it is a whip, strained for a figure named Scourge of God. This bendy wire whip is nice and thick, so I don't get the impression it's going to disintegrate in my hands. Speaking of hands, claws. They're sort of hands, right? Makes it kinda weird there's hands on hands, but they're also not quite hands. Also, there's an alternative way to attach them. The claws are individually articulated, unlike our next accessory. You get a neat if basic looking gun, with a sort of working reload mechanic that lets you eject shells, which is pretty cool. Unfortunately, only the reload works here, and you can't shoot some dumb bitch with this. Ooh, misogyny. Speaking of discrimination, oh boy, look, a stand. It's actually pretty neat. It's metal, which that alone wouldn't be noteworthy, but the feet of the figure have magnets, so the robot boy will stick to it like shit to an ass. Speaking of shit and ass, the stand arm is also a magnet, and also sticks to the base really well, although the stand arm doesn't move. Oh wait, I forgot about the lightning / booster effects, or maybe I purposely saved it for last, so it's closer to the feature segment. Yes, that's definitely it. I didn't just forget. I'm also not willing to show you how to attach all these. Of course, all the weapons can be stored on the robot, with included adapter points. The eyes are not visible when they're turned off, which doesn't look great. Here's my 2 cents. Figures shouldn't have light up effects unless they can look good without them. Of course, isn't the only part that lights up. The back and the side of the shoulders also light up, which please note that my copy is missing the LED on the left shoulder. I did ask for a replacement, but because of where we are, it's not feasible for them to send it, so we didn't get one. If you live in a third world country, pray that your copy isn't missing any parts, I guess. Anyway, these are activated with a magnet. They also have different modes, typically strobing ones. But the side of these shoulders also has a spinning light effect. The LEDs on these shoulders are also bright as fuck when uncovered. I'm only mentioning this because I got flashbanged by these when I was fiddling with the figure. As mentioned previously, a lot of the parts on the robot can convert, and it's a lot easier to do than you'd think. So I know I said it looked bad earlier, but I was mostly talking about the chest, since for the other parts, the transformation reveals muscle fibers, which is really fucking cool. If after you transformed everything, you attach the whip as the tail, which comes off fairly easily, and optionally attach all these squigglies, you get the beast mode. This is no maximal transformation, but it's cool in its limited application, and is somewhat like the Gundam Unicorn, except the animal mode here is the mode with the shifted parts, instead of the other way around. Size comparisons, guts and guts. Overall, if the worst thing I can say about something is that's just not for me, then it's probably pretty great. So I can definitely recommend it if you like how it looks and don't mind the price. That's about it. Thank you to the patrons. You know what I think? I think this patron is fucking stupid. Of course, thank you to Robouken for the recording contributions, and Moshow for sending me this. I'll see y'all next time. Okay, we're done.